from materials, utilizing them in a very I'd say efficient way, all those things. So, but it can be profitable at the same time. So I think that's the swing that we're seeing now, that sustainability doesn't mean niche, it means profitability and consciousness. So
And Miguel, you started out your company with the idea of sustainability in mind. Myself, when we started Baobab, it was all sustainability was at the forefront of as we were looking at development. Chris, you've worked on brands for some time now, and before sustainability became such a I guess I'll call it in vogue, right? This vogue thing to do.
yeah, catchphrase,
Yeah, the catchphrase, right? How has that journey sort of been? Like, how have you seen the industry sort of change? And I think for both of us, right, for the entire panel, like, what is the responsibility of the corporations, companies, artists, as it pertains to sustainability? Like, what should they include this in their business practices, and like, what is their responsibility in this, in making the world a better place?
Well, first, fashion is, I think, one of the bigger polluters on the planet, right? From dyeing, ink, wastage, runoff into the water, overdevelopment of fabric, the utilization of plastics in polyester polymers. I believe now that the new world that we're living in here, fighting through this pandemic, companies realize how important it is to practice good ethics in what you stand for. It has to mean something, and it needs to be authentic, because we'll see through that as a consumer. Like, I will not work with a factory if I see something that just doesn't sit right with me. How the people look that are working on your garments. Like, I like to put a face to it, and treat them to lunch.
Humanize the experience, right? It's not just
exactly.
Hey, you cut this, you sew this, and here you go. It's humanizing and getting people involved in the process, and understanding who you are and your vision for your brand. Would you say that?
Exactly. Yep. And Miguel, I know you see that working. You're in LA, seeing the different sample houses and production houses you're working with. It moves fast, and sometimes you got to go keep the momentum, but you don't want certain things to just keep slide, and fall through the cracks that are important to you, that really carry the sustainable story.
Again, like you said, Chris, the energy that the company, the manufacturers kind of carry, all that goes into. I'm a firm believer that what you put into something, all that energy carries through. Your final product will, be it music, be it, clothing, be it whatever you do, the energy you put into it is going to come out, and people are going to feel that and should be able to feel that. I think that's what makes certain brands stand out from others. You look at the quality, and I think we all love this because we value quality. We value things that are going to last and that are going to be with us for a long time. That's why we decided that we wanted to do this, because we had something to offer that. We had perspective on that, ideas that we believe that will last. And through this medium, just to sort of connect, to your question, Brandon, about corporations and larger companies, I think through this medium, it's easy to get lost in the psychology of human nature. Human nature is we are driven to consume. It's unfortunate, but it's just true. And that's sort of the challenge that the larger industry has to come to terms with as we deal with the repercussions of too much consuming or consuming irresponsibly. And so now we're at the precipice of like making massive changes and consumers making demands that force corporations to change the habits. The great thing about where we are is that we don't have massive machines that we have to redirect. It doesn't take as much energy. And we have this awesome opportunity along with, obviously Shopify, this platform is like giving people the opportunity to build their own businesses from the ground up to meet the demand before it even becomes massive. And so in this way, I sort of imagine that we kind of have a head start. You know, we don't have to redirect a massive machine. We can sort of build it from the ground up to do exactly what it's supposed to do. So
you touched on a few interesting and sort of meta points that like I just want to cover and say really quick. So like you talked about like sort of the energy that you put into something and how it reflects and what you're creating, right? And how people sort of ideally will resonate with that because it's the energy that you put into developing. And then also you mentioned sort of the human behavior to consume. I don't know, that resonated for me a bit. Like we just buy, I'm in New York right now and I just, I'm in Soho and I'm walking around. It's just, there's nothing but just consumerism here, right? But it's all about, there are some companies that are taking the responsible approach to doing it. And then some are, just doing it from just the talk, but not necessarily walking the walk. I read a stat somewhere that I think that there's about 33 million tons of fabric waste that happens every year, right? That ends up in our landfills and that happens generally like with fast fashion where you get it, produced quickly, you wear it. And oftentimes we're not thinking about that as humans, right? Especially as Americans, like how, we're grateful to have like the things that we have here. And so we're not thinking about the actual environmental impact because we don't necessarily always physically see it, the impact that we're having to our environment every day with that waste that we're creating. So you brought up, I think, Chris, earlier, I think both of you guys actually, the COVID, right? Like, we're 18, I guess, plus months into this pandemic that everyone wants to say that, now that COVID's over, but it's not, right? Although the cases are dropping, so definitely grateful for that. But what has the effects of COVID, Miguel, had on the way that you are looking at your business now, and how has that sort of changed, or have you had to pivot during this time for both of you guys?
Big time. I think just the issue of transport, especially internationally, which to be frank, like for my business and the business that I wanted to build, we were trying our best to find the best way of meeting sort of this standard of creating and producing as sustainably and responsibly as possible. And the moment you start transporting goods and you have to factor in emissions. So transport wasn't something that I was ideal, but because again, as we all know, like manufacturing in general, you sort of, especially in this industry, is very specific. There's like, it's like Italy for manufacturing is probably at the very, pinnacle of quality. You think Italy is like, if you're getting your goods produced in Italy, you're probably going to have the highest quality, or it's assumed. There's a perception that goes along with that you translate to your customer base. And that will likely affect your price point and so on and so forth. So all the economics of that is a whole other finite system. But for us, producing elsewhere made the best sense because doing it here, it was gonna one, translate into higher cost for our customer, and it was gonna require a lot more legwork in terms of staying close. Whereas we found manufacturers who were already ahead of the game, 10 years ahead of the game in Portugal, that worked for us. So, however, once COVID hit, obviously that meant that, sampling, like all of the things that we all know that needs to happen. It was like hit the brakes. But what that has meant for me is that I've been able to get in the trenches here in Los Angeles and to sort of really source, more sustainable manufacturers, craftsmen, and really build these relationships that I think will, in the long term, really help me get the turnaround time down even more, because I can execute things here in Los Angeles and get them manufactured in mass if necessary at our factory. So for me, it was a blessing in disguise. This is a big learning experience for me, but it's been really dope, man, to jump in the trenches and to have the bandwidth to do it too.
Yeah, just it's interesting, like that pivot to domestic manufacturing, right? Like the prices might be a little bit more, but do you find that it's worth it because you're closer to the product and maybe it kind of balances itself out because you're not, you don't have to
Wasting
maybe
as much.
commit to as many units internationally if you were in China per se, or, if you're there versus having it, LA and stateside. Like I think I think that kind of works itself out, from what I've
Right.
been seeing and just, some of the sampling that I've done, stateside. Like we forgot that there's a lot of really good manufacturers here in the United States that we can work with, even Canada, Mexico as well, like in this hemisphere. I think for me, my business was financially rooted in Hong Kong, and my partners, they basically had to shelve my brand, because they're a manufacturing private family, and they got hit just like we all got hit, and so business side of things, that's a tough one to swallow, as an entrepreneur, building, my brand on Shopify for the past 5 years as well. But it made me think differently about the business and my approach to the business and what I've learned over the decades that I've been doing this. And look where I've ended up here at Shopify. To have this conversation with you and Brandon, man, is special for me personally. I'm still sharing my knowledge, and I'm still have my pulse on the fashion world. But I find that it's an incredible opportunity for us right now to like introduce what our brands to the world in a different way, and show the resilience of entrepreneurship, and showing the flexibility of the Shopify platform. I find it very interesting. But yeah, just throwing that out there. And Brandon, what's your brand name, Brandon?
Yeah. So the name of our company is Baobab Clothing. We named the company.
What does that stand for?
Yeah, we named the company after the Tree of Life. So it grows in most parts of Africa and in parts of Australia. And, the whole idea for us is that, talking about the fashion waste that I was talking about before, like we wanted to create clothing that not only looked great, but lasted a long time, right? So for us, it was all about like the functionality, durability, in our positioning, our thoughts about sustainability. And, we launched with polo shirts. That's something that I wore, in corporate America, right? Like polo shirts. I've been wearing polo shirts, ever since a kid, right? And so, we wanted to do it like, how can we create the best polo shirt, and thinking about what best meant, or the perfect, right? And so, taking all of those things into consideration, with our brand, adding a no curl collar, or, using Pima cotton versus like regular cotton, although it's more expensive, right? It's a better quality, less, it's not as dirty as organic. It's like, and so, but taking all those things into consideration to, again, create the perfect, polo. So, we're touching on so many different like topics that like, and I know that we have limited time. I have so many questions that and routes that we can go with this conversation. So Miguel, you had mentioned, like you launching your company on the Shopify platform, and I've heard that you like get behind the wheel, basically. You're the one sort of like driving and adding in like SKUs and updating product images and so forth. So, hey, I'm going to ask this, is that true? Like everyone wants to know. And then it can, like talk about like how are you able to like navigate all that and lead in such a busy life?
Thank goodness I have Mitch helping me. I'm just basically what I'm doing is I'm messing it up. That's what I'm really doing. When I'm adding things, I'm ruining it. Yeah. And then, I have a great team. They're like, oh, this is what you meant to do. Got it. Yeah. No. Like I am a very hands-on kind of person. I mean, I saw my father as a carpenter first. He was a carpenter first growing up. And then as he was going to school, he became a teacher. But My family's always been very hands-on. My music is very DIY. Um, and this venture for me was about the education part as much as it was about the opportunity to create a platform and build a community around an ethos, a belief that, sustainable practice, sustainable business doesn't have to look and feel earthy. Um, and and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I love that but I think there's like that's why we have different kinds of music and we have different kinds of brands. And I just feel like there's a consumer out there that, absolutely wants to wear clothes that, they don't have to they know are responsibly produced, but maybe just fit their lifestyle better. And so this whole thing wasn't just about let me throw money at it because I have, I am who I am and I've done what I've done or whatever, been able to experience success. But it was more about like, what is the real, again, what's the real energy about? And S1C is really about DIY lifestyles, like anyone who decided to live alternatively and to tailor fit their life and their lifestyle around standing out and being different and hopefully changing the world.
Love that.
Can you talk a little bit about, so Miguel, I've seen that you've done some interviews where you talk about, when you first were coming out as an artist, the labels wanted to kind of put you into this classic or whatever, this template as an R&B like singer, right? But when you took control of that, of your vision and that brand and saying, okay, no, this is the artist that I want to be. And, you had this sort of success and you started to thrive as an artist. Can you talk about the importance of, when you're developing a business or career in that sense of, the importance of having that vision and what that sort of looks like in developing your brand?
At the end of the day, each one of us started our own brands based on what we wanted to see in the world. One of my favorite just sort of like quotes is like putting paint where it ain't. And I think an artist's role in this world is to go, this is how I see the world, and I'm gonna give it to you. And the best art is created by artists who do that genuinely, and it communicates with people who didn't expect to feel anything. If that makes sense, let me try and streamline that. It's like we appreciate different kinds of music, different kinds of art because we find something in ourselves in it. Even though it may not be exactly the way that we see the world or exactly the way that we feel the world, we find a commonality, and I think that's sort of it's almost reverse, but the more clear our personality and our vision becomes, the more clearly we can transmute that and in turn find other people who find some commonality. And that's what I think all this is about, is like finding connection, right? Like that's like life. It's like love, life, all of these things is like finding some kind of connection with people, and you realize like we're not so different.
Yeah,
So
amen to that. Amen.
so yeah, that's sort of the beginnings of it. It's like at the core of it.
Miguel, I'm just curious, like your core team that you have. You spoke of Mitch. Mitch and I, he's our mutual dear friend. But who's there for you? Like, you're busy. You got so much going on. Who do you lean on to kind of help you bring ideas, to materialize those ideas, manage your Shopify, platform?
Yeah.
That's a lot. Those are a lot of responsibilities, to grow a brand. Like, who are those folks in your circle?
Small team right now. Again, Mitch, obviously. I've been working with Julia Lang, and she's been helping a lot, and she's been someone I've learned a lot from. And Julia Lang is also a mutual friend.
Shout out to Julia. Yep.
Man,
see the necklace on wrapping. Yep.
Man, she is killing in terms of building a new brand and launching a new brand. I've never seen anyone really go crazy and go as hard as she has. So Julia is someone I bounce ideas off of. Obviously, we have like our sort of like tech team, blah blah blah. Thank God, because I'm telling you, I've ruined some coding on the back end. But as far as right now, it's just like myself doing most of the design and ideation. I have a designer by the name of Patrick Saville that I've been working with heavies in the UK, and we're sort of looking to build out our team now with a couple
Okay.
more creatives. Yeah, on the
On the
graphic side and on the
product dev
yeah.
side, do you have somebody there that's communicating factory wise?
Yeah, so Dio is a partner of ours. He runs a company called Bear Scouts, and then there's a company called Scoop that we work with heavily. And sort of between these three, myself, Dio, and Mafalda, who's at Scoop, she's incredible. So yeah, and then all of like the new sort of craftsmen here. In Los Angeles that I've been able to sort of make contacts with and build relationships over the past, goodness, 18 months. I can't believe it's been that long. Yeah, it's been a journey. How about you, Chris? Is it a small team, very small team? Or?
Yeah, well, my team, my crew at Dineway, it was a small team, right? But Shopify was key for us to do commerce, just simple, right? Just to hear that cha-ching, you want,
that's cha-ching is big, great.
Yeah. that can make your day right there. Right. And it's that, that's important, right? Because we're doing this because we love it, but we also need to do business, right? And to continue purchasing what we need, paying our folks, right? So that, like, I think a lot of us, as creatives, we love to just build product, but sometimes you forget, oh man, I got to make some money with this, right? And for me, Shopify was that platform, that we use it, incredibly friendly. So I had somebody internally solely focusing on that. And they went in and out of social media, because I'm not the best on that. And then I had my product development person, right? Just like, boom. She was day to day dealing with the factory and then assistant design, and then the sales part of it. I kind of had outsourced it, so it was really a tight crew.
Yeah, we have a relatively small team, but having the support system is incredible. People who believe in you early on, maybe when you can't pay them what they could make somewhere else, right? But but they believe in the vision and what you're working on is amazing to have. Just for the folks, if someone's listening, we're talking about, if they want to know what we're talking about the cha-ching, that's that sound you get when you make a sale on Shopify on your if you download the app, you'll hear that cha-ching. It's a beautiful sound, certainly. We're about to run out of time. Yeah, exactly.
It goes crazy. That one worked.
That one worked. We're about to run out of time. I wanted to see if we can offer maybe like 2 minutes of the. We talk about like manufacturing. Chris, you talked about sourcing fabric and so forth. I mean, that is something for me when we're starting and launching the brand. Like I have a product marketing, product development from a tech side background. I had no idea where to start, and I was just calling factories just everywhere. But again, there's no Google for this, right? Like even that's like the worst place to go crazy. Is Google.
Exactly.
Don't do that.
Exactly. So
and that's something around the creator program that we're talking about here at Shopify Branding, because that's something that is incredibly important for me. Like, where would we go, right, to find those right partners for us, right? We have our network, right? Miguel, I can hit Miguel can hit me. Brandon's, back. We can go back and forth like when sharing resources, but we have access. And we have a lot of access, a lot more access than, kids that I mentor, and help guide through their brand building experience, right? Because they're asking me questions and it's just like second nature. It's like the back of my hand for me. But I'm like, oh, that's right. Where do you go to make this pattern? You need this kind of zipper. Where do you go? And that's something that at the here at Shopify, under the creator program, that we're looking at and seeing how we can aggregate data and see how we can support the industry in a different way, right? Versus fishing through Google, like
right.
So
we could do a masterclass conversation on this one topic.
All
take
day
up
long,
time
brother.
that we have together.
All day.
That's the key, right there's the key.
Yeah. So Miguel, I guess beyond the business, right? Of course, people know you and love you for your music. Is there any current projects that you're working on? Like, are you in the lab? When are we going to be blessed with some new material, some new art from you?
All of that's coming. So music, I mean, this project has been sort of happening in tandem with music, which has been extremely rewarding because I kind of get to, one, when I hit a wall, maybe then I can go, okay, well, this gave me some ideas over here and these ideas translate over here. So right now it's been about building a world, and we're finally finishing this project. So I'm looking forward to sort of releasing music as well as our next drop, sort of in tandem, and next drops in tandem, as well as like developing some things for just new technologies. I think there's just so many opportunities with the new technologies that'll translate in a big way for the long run. So just creating, but absolutely music coming for sure.
It's coming. Well,
It's
good
coming.
to hear. Good to hear.
It's coming. Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for the time that you shared with me today. I'm definitely honored and appreciate just the knowledge, the experiences that you guys have been able to share. So thank you so much. And hopefully we can connect again and help sort of inspire folks on their entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank
really
you, Miguel.
was a pleasure. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Brandon. Big love, everyone.
Appreciate you, brothers. Be well.
Bye.
This has been so insightful. I'm glad that we had these conversations and had the opportunity to share them with you all joining us digitally. Thank you to Nana, Andrea, and Unique from Botan, Andrea Iyama, and Culture Brands, and of course, Miguel, Chris, and Brandon. Thank you to everyone for making the time to be with us today, for staying with us, and for your engagement throughout this event. And to the team behind the scenes, thank you too. Remember, you can get all the information you need to start your business, participate in the Build Black community, and list your business on the Black Business Directory by going to shopify.com/buildblack. Or keep the conversation going on socials with the hashtag #BuildBlackWithShopify. To learn more about the 1 Million Black Businesses program with Shopify and Operation Hope, check out shopify.com/1MBB. We can't wait to see what your businesses become. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.